What's going on, everybody? Happy Monday. We are officially at the beginning of the week of week 0 in college football. At the end of the week, we have college football games. We have the last week of preseason at the end of the week. We got baseball throughout the week. And FIBA World Cup also starts this upcoming weekend. We got a lot to preview here in today's episode. This is your Sports Digest. I'm your host, Alex McNinch. Little housekeeping again. The time of the episodes that are going to be released are going to be changed a little bit. Probably going to be later in the afternoon on Mondays and Fridays. Got some stuff now that will be conflicting with, or will be a conflict with being able to record the night prior and uploading so early or whatnot. So expect, if you do listen to this immediately after, which I guarantee most of you guys don't, you guys normally wait until you can listen to it. But if you are wanting to get it and listen to it every single time it releases at like noon or whatever, or 11, we're probably going to switch just to give it a little bit of later, just in case I have to record at a later time so that it gives more time to process, upload, and all that other stuff. But like I said, we got a full week ahead of us heading into the weekend where we start college football with a game in Ireland. We got the last week of NFL preseason. FIBA World Cup starts this upcoming weekend. This past weekend we had preseason. We had some other FIBA World Cup. We had Women's World Cup. We'll cover a bunch of it. We got some baseball as well that we'll slightly mention as well. But kind of going over, first of all, the NFL this past weekend. If you stayed to the very end where Alex's picks were, I gave you my picks for the preseason. For the NFL, I went 3-2. Gave you a Panthers cover. They lost by 2. Bryce Young didn't look that great, but his O-line also was terrible. So that's kind of hard to, really deal with throughout the year, especially in preseason, to find success. But they still cover for us. I also gave you guys a Steelers win. I said money line. They win that game by 12. They looked really good. The Bills played starters as well, but the Steelers looked really good. Jaylen Warren looked awesome. Kenny Pickett looked awesome. They have a really bright season this year, and I think they could shock a couple of people if all things click right for them. And I also gave you guys the over on the Rams and the Raiders. That was an easy over. Final score 34-17. The over was 39.5. I said go ahead and smash that over. That's an easy one. Shoot, the Raiders almost did it just by themselves, so shout out to them. I also gave you guys the Saints money line. The game has not started yet. I'm recording this early because I gotta be up early tomorrow morning, so I didn't want to have to stay up recording tonight. But I assume the Saints are going to end up winning that game, so that might be a pick to get us to 4-2. 2 losses were, the Texans and the Dolphins. That was just an absolute shit show for the Texans. Will Anderson Jr. got a couple tackles. C.J. Stroud looked much better than he did in week 1 with a couple of drives. I did not know that Tua was going to start at quarterback until the hours prior, so that was great for our pick. Everything just went south for them. They got the ball ran all over them by every running back that is signed to the Dolphins roster, it felt like. So, and who knew that Skylar Thompson was a competent quarterback? Dolphins blow out the Texans. That's a loss. And then I also lost the Packers-Patriots one. I gave you guys Packers money line. They lost by 4. That game obviously was ended early because of the injury to Isaiah Bolden. Scary incident there. Just got hit hard on accident by his own teammate, I think, and spun down and was unconscious. Said that he had feeling in all of his extremities, so hopefully he's doing okay, recovers well. There's a bunch of bad injuries over the weekend, even in Philly on Thursday night. Tyree Cleveland, former Florida Gator wide receiver. You may know him or have seen him because he is the one that caught the Hail Mary from Felipe Franks against Tennessee. He was the receiver that made that catch. So he, unfortunately, was going up for a catch, fell down, landed straight on his head and back of his neck, and he had to get stretchered off. He wasn't moving, so the Eagles did the right thing and obviously cut him immediately after, so great job for Philadelphia. I understand that's a Here's a little rant. I understand that is a normal thing within the NFL for you to cut guys who get injured in camp or who get injured in preseason. Like, that's a normal thing, but that doesn't mean it's right. Like, Tyree Cleveland got stretchered out, sent to the hospital because he couldn't move his body because his neck. And the Eagles say, hey, I hope you're doing great, but we're just going to have to cut you so we can get another guy on the roster. Like, that's just messed up because there's no guaranteed money for a guy his age yet. At least if it is guaranteed money, it's not enough to cover anything maybe. So it's like, oh my goodness, like it's such a terrible situation. I understand it's a business. There's a reason you got to do it, but I feel like, Tyree was on the way to being one of those borderline roster spot makers or guys who gets cut, and he was having a great preseason, had a great camp that I was reading about, and just to have this injury obviously sucks, but then to get cut because of it is just it's even worse, and that's just the crappy part about the business and sports. But hopefully he recovers well as Isaiah Bolden. But like I said, going into that game, I picked the Packers to win. That game got cut short because of the injury. They didn't want to continue on out of respect for both sides. So completely understandable. I don't know if they counted those bets or not. I can't remember because I put all of them in a parlay since it was preseason. Who really cares? But yeah, those are my picks and those are my wins and losses. They weren't bad. They weren't great, but they weren't bad. So ultimately, I went positive with it. So hopefully you can take with some of my advice going forward. But to cover some of the other preseason games that happened. The 49ers beat the Broncos in the battle of who is going to play quarterback for this team. Brock Purdy did play a little bit. Trey Lance played a little bit. Sam Darnold played a little bit. Who really knows what's going on there with them and how that situation is going to go. For the Titans and Vikings game, Malik Willis only played, and he played the entire game through 17 passes for 85 yards. Okay. But the entire team ran for what? Like, I don't even know. It's got to be at least 300. Yeah, 281. I mean, it was ridiculous. Julius Chestnut ran for 98 and a touchdown. Malik Willis ran for 91. Tajay Spears, who, shout out, by the way, if you don't follow me on Twitter, go ahead and do that. I post clips of a lot of cool highlights that happened around, the NFL, MLB, now going to be college football, all this kind of stuff. I post all that on my Twitter, so if you want to see some highlights and stuff like that or small little clips, follow me on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, at Your Sports Digest. I post a bunch of that on there so that you guys can have a little place knowing that you can find a clip anywhere throughout my account. I posted a highlight of Tajay Spears, who I said before the draft that he was one of my top 3 guys to keep an eye out for within the draft. He is an elusive guy out of Tulane. He got a touchdown this weekend, a big rushing touchdown. So shout out to him. The Chiefs played their starters and killed the Cardinals. The Bucks and the Jets, I almost gave you guys the Bucks. I think I said it doesn't really matter because both teams weren't going to really play too much. But Kyle Trask ended up playing it for a while, came back in because of an injury. He was 20 for 28, 218 yards and a touchdown. He looks solid, man, and his offensive line sucks. And his receivers are just as bad, if not even worse, that he was throwing to. So shout out to Trask he looked so mobile. He was able to go out of the pocket. Like normally when he played at Florida, you can tell like there was some stiffness when he was rolling out. When he'd throw on his back foot, he looked so stiff. He would never roll to his right. I swear to you, out of all the times, I don't think I can tell you one moment where Kyle Trask rolls out right and throws on the run. I've only can imagine him in my mind rolling out left and throwing across his body, but he was rolling out and doing a bunch of different stuff. So, maybe I guess playing behind Tom Brady for a couple of years really helped him out, and I really hope that he ends up winning this starting spot because he deserves a shot. For the Colts and Bears, Anthony Richardson didn't play. It's normal procedure protocol that if you do a joint practice against a team, during the week, you don't play your starters. That's what both teams did there. Jaguars kill the Lions. And did we miss? I don't know if we missed anyone. Oh, and the Seahawks beat the Cowboys. But once again, who is really watching that? Nobody really cares about what's going on with the Cowboys, except for Florida legend Will Grier playing quarterback for the Cowboys, threw for 136 yards at a pick. Drew Lock was slinging it for the Seahawks, and Zach Charbonnet was running really well. Jackson Smith and Jigba got his first couple catches, so that was cool to see as well. But we got one more preseason game here tonight as this episode comes out. The greatest preseason team in NFL history. And when I'm saying this, I'm not joking. The Baltimore Ravens have won like 24, 25 straight preseason games. 24 or 25 straight. Like, that is ridiculous. And I'm not doing an Alex's Picks episode or segment in this episode since it's just Monday. We normally will do that on Friday, heading into a bunch of the games, especially in college football season and the NFL when it comes back on fully in the regular season, where we'll just give out all of our picks on Friday. But, yeah, the Ravens just – I don't know what it is. I think it's just because they have super athletic quarterbacks and super athletic and dynamic receivers that it's just built for the preseason. If you got a quarterback that can run, or you got a quarterback that can improvise and extend plays, you're normally really good in the preseason, and that's just kind of what it is for the Ravens. And right now they're minus 120 on the money line. Granted, they're on the road. They're playing in Washington against the Commanders. I obviously want to show support to the Commanders, but it's hard not to see that line for the Ravens. They're minus 1.5 point favorites on the road still, but the Ravens being the preseason legends that they are, I don't know. I think you got to lean toward the Raiders here. I don't know what their plans are about playing starters or not, but who cares? Honestly, who cares? If you see a team that's winning 20-something straight preseason games, you automatically have to pick them. Like I said, no analysis on the Saints and Chargers just because I'm recording right before that. But this upcoming weekend, we have a couple of preseason games. The last week of preseason games, Thursday, there will be two games, the Steelers and the Falcons, and the Colts and Eagles. Steelers-Falcons on NFL Network, Colts-Eagles on Amazon Prime, doing a little bit of prep before the actual Amazon Prime NFL season starts. So those games will be happening on Thursday. I'll give you immediate analysis probably right after those games happen so that we can give it a perfect timing for the episode. And then we'll talk about all the games on Friday, all the games on Saturday, and then Sunday night's game in New Orleans. So that'll do it for the NFL. We can talk a little bit about some other things within Alex's picks. I gave you guys the Women's World Cup picks. I was 1-1 on those for the third place game. I gave you guys Sweden to beat Australia. That ended up happening on Saturday. And then I picked England to beat Spain in the final, and Spain won 1-0. So, I mean, not really the worst pick I could have given you there. 1-1 on those games, so kind of just, it evened out eventually. So, didn't really matter there. Women's World Cup is over. FIBA will start this weekend. Let's talk about the game that just happened today, because there was today as I'm recording, there was a game that happened today, and Team USA got another really good chance to play some good talent. The most NBA players and NBA talent that they have seen so far, yet in their warm-ups, prelims, whatever you can call it, before the true FIBA World Cup happens. They played Germany today. I almost said Sweden again. They played Germany today. Germany obviously has both Franz and Mo Wagner from Michigan. Isaac Bongo used to play for the Lakers and the Wizards. Dennis Schroeder. Frank Jackson was also on that team. Daniel Theis. So a bunch of NBA talent on that team that they got to play against. And you can tell that they are in the mode of playing against guys that they are just 20 times better than. And this game, they took it a little bit for granted in the first half, was down at halftime. Germany playing really well, trying to get themselves warmed up for the actual World Cup round. But at the helm of Anthony Edwards, who had 36, I believe, absolutely amazing performance, and we're starting to see him break out right in front of our eyes, which I am a big Anthony Edwards guy. Sure, he went to Georgia. I hate Georgia, but you can't not love the type of player that Anthony Edwards is, how he plays, how much passion he plays with. He was one of the only guys that throughout this entire World Cup, not even qualifiers, but exhibition games, that was truly fired up the entire time. And shout out to him. He's putting the team on his back, and he's going to be the guy that whenever you think of Team USA, you're always thinking of the guys that are at the top. You always think of those stand-up guys. Even in the World Cup, not just the Olympics, you think of the World Cup side. You go back to names like Kyrie. Kyrie was one of those guys that just put the whole entire team on his back during the World Cup in 2012, 13 timeframe, probably 13, 14. He was the guy that put the team on their back and did it there. So, Anthony Edwards stepping up to the challenge and being the guy there. Jaren Jackson Jr., obviously, I have to shout him out because he's a Grizzly. Played fantastic. I think he had 6 blocks today. Steve Kerr just doesn't like playing him, which makes no sense to me. I don't know why, in any sort of imagination, that Bobby Portis, Paolo Banchero, Walker Kessler should all be playing more minutes at the 5 than Jaren Jackson Jr. I understand the foul issues that there could be, but there's no shot that I should be watching all of those guys play more minutes than Jaren at the 5 when Jaren has no foul trouble at all. Like that, it's just ridiculous. You obviously see the kind of impact he has on the court. If you keep looking at highlights from the game, it's all stemmed by a Jaren block. Like that Anthony Edwards 3 that tied the game up in the fourth quarter, I think it was 86-86, off of a Jaren Jackson Jr. block. So they feed off of his energy on the defensive side, and it makes everybody else's job easier because all you got to do, you got to play the perimeter because nobody's going to be driving in on big number 13 in the middle. No one's going to try to put it up. And if they do, it's either getting swatted or they're going to miss. So I don't know. I don't know what Steve Kerr's doing. But then again, I always wonder what Steve Kerr does. But Team USA gets the win against Germany today, 99-91 in Abu Dhabi. They finally move on to the Philippines where they will play their World Cup game on Friday, I believe, 7:40 in the morning. 7:40 a.m. Central Time, 8:40 a.m. Eastern Time. They play New Zealand in the first game there. So that's going to be a tough watch. Or excuse me, Saturday, not Friday. Saturday. They play at 7:40 a.m. on Saturday. I'll be up. I don't know if you guys will be, but I'll be up and I'll be able to watch it. Then their next game will be on Monday. We'll talk about that. And they play Greece, who they already have played in the exhibitions. They played them on Friday, 108-86. The final score, no Giannis Antetokounmpo, but his brother Thanasis is going to be playing for Greece. So, that's kind of it for FIBA as well. No real NBA news except for James Harden and Daryl Morey just hate each other. And, who really cares at this point, because this is just going to get strung on even more. And it's going to keep going and going and going and going. And then finally Harden's going to sit out at training camp. And then they're going to be like, okay, well, we'll finally trade you. And then it'll all get resolved. Or they won't trade him and he just sits out and ends up playing a couple games and, doesn't really care. So this is just the circle of life of a disgruntled NBA star. Bash the ownership, bash the general manager, bash the coach, whatever it is, and then move on, skip training camp, get to regular season, play a couple games, demand a trade, sit out, gets traded. Just happens every single time. So I think we're all just waiting for that final cycle to end. And I know that a bunch of teams that are looking to trade for James Harden are waiting for that cycle to end too, because there's also a looming Damian Lillard trade that potentially could be happening as well that we don't even know of yet, because it seems like we are at the point of the offseason where we're just waiting for training camp to start here in the next month or less. But that's it for all of that that we have talked about. I said we'd cover some baseball. We will cover a little bit of baseball. And after last episode, my bashing of the Boston Red Sox for going into Washington, obviously it's super tough environment in Washington with a 100% sold out crowd every night there in Washington after trading all of their star players. The Red Sox proceed to lose 2 of 3 in Washington. And that's just kind of the story of the team this year. But you know what? They keep on keeping on. And I know the Yankees suck too, but when you can go into Yankee Stadium and sweep the Yankees in dominant fashion the first two games and then in dramatic fashion in the final game, that's a confidence booster of all confidence boosters. Red Sox sweep the Yankees heading into some crucial series, one against Houston this week, leading into the LA Dodgers coming to Boston this weekend, which if you don't know anything about the LA Dodgers coming into Boston, well, it would be Mookie Betts' first game in Boston since he was traded back in 2020, right before the COVID outbreak started happening. JD Martinez making his first return to Boston as well after leaving in free agency this year. Ryan Brazier, not very good with the Red Sox for the most part. We'll always remember 18, but Ryan Brazier, not really a big Red Sox guy, but he'll be making his return. And then it'll obviously be Justin Turner and Alex Verdugo for the Red Sox, who will be playing for their first time against the Dodgers. Oh, and also Kike Hernandez is coming back to Boston as well, if anybody's excited about that. So some tough games upcoming here for the Red Sox, but they're still, 3 games out after today with some tough teams you're playing ahead, and some teams in front of you are playing some really good baseball. One of those teams being the Seattle Mariners. And if you're not keeping up with this situation in Seattle, I'm not surprised if you're not, because I know most of you aren't baseball fans, but they have a player by the name of Julio Rodriguez, who you probably have heard the name or noticed the face of, and he just set a record for the most hits within a certain game span or something like that. He had 17 hits in the past 4 games. And he just got his 18th hit today as well against the Astros. He went 1 for 5. 18 hits in 5 games. He is on fire right now. And Seattle is really pushing towards that playoff spot after trading a couple guys away at the deadline. They traded away their superstar closer. Well, I guess you couldn't say superstar, but they traded away their main closer in Paul Sewald. And they really thought that, oh, man, it was going to be turning towards a bad sign for the Mariners. Then they beat up on the Red Sox, and they just kept their motivation going from there. And they're playing some really good ball right now. The other team in front of the Red Sox, the Blue Jays, another one, they made some splashes at the trade deadline, bringing in Jordan Hicks, Paul DeYoung, who they just DFA'd because Bo Bichette came back from injury. Paul DeYoung has hit like 150 with the Blue Jays since being acquired at the trade deadline. So great trade there for Toronto. All the Red Sox fans were crying that we didn't get him. Obviously, looking like I think that the organization knows what they're doing. But the Blue Jays are playing really good ball. Take the series against Cincinnati. Now they got a tough one against the Baltimore Orioles, who are playing really good ball as well. And they just keep getting better and better. There's a chance that Jackson Holliday, who was literally drafted a year and a half ago, could be playing in the major leagues by the end of September, which makes no sense to me. But, the Orioles know what they're doing with their prospects, obviously, so I'm not going to stop them. But outside of that, the rest of the MLB is kind of in a weird spot right now. We're kind of just sitting waiting for all these teams that are at the end of the wild card or just in the middle of it, kind of getting there, because in the NL wild card race, there are 3 teams that are within a game of that third place spot with the Cubs hold. Those are the Diamondbacks, the Marlins, and the Reds. They all got some good stretches coming up. The Diamondbacks play a 2-game set against the Rangers and then head to Cincinnati for a very crucial series. The Reds, right before they play the Diamondbacks, play a 3-game set in Los Angeles, which the Angels are an absolute crapshoot right now. So, and then the Marlins play the Padres, which the Padres are seeking to try to get back in there, 6 games behind the last wild card spot as well. We are, again, in the MLB point where you don't want to standings watch too much, but you can't help but look. And once you turn the page to September, that's when you really want to start watching the standings a little bit and pay attention to what's going on there. But for the most part right now, it's about teams. You reassess once you get to September where the team's looking, and then these teams will start to, see, hey, we will designate you for assignment because the last date you can add somebody to a team to be eligible for the playoff roster is August 31st. So a lot of veterans might get designated for assignment like on September 1 or September 2nd. It could happen. And, because that's just kind of how the business of baseball is. But baseball is still moving on as well. No other real news in other sports that at least I have not been able to pay attention of, I guess. We'll talk about Inter Miami since we talked about soccer earlier. Inter Miami beating Nashville last night or Saturday, I guess. In the league's championship, League's Cup, whatever they call it, in a shootout. It went 11 rounds in the shootout. That's pretty impressive. I don't know much about soccer, but I know that that's very impressive, that it came down to the goalies having to kick it to win it. So that's how you know that they used literally everyone that they could. Inter Miami wins that one. Messi wins his 44th overall championship in every league he has played in within soccer. That is damn impressive. He has just come to the MLS and dominated and captivated the love and the fandom from everybody, whether you pay attention to soccer or not. The fact that Lionel Messi is in the United States playing soccer on TV every single week, and people are going to it, selling out stadiums because of it, it's impressive. And, this is just the one small step for soccer really taking a leap in the United States, because we all know when you're younger, you play soccer for the most part. For me specifically, I know I played soccer when I was younger. I was fortunate enough to play for the New York Red Bulls MLS team, little feeder team, when I was younger and lived in New York. And, most people will play when they're younger, and then they'll get to a point where they kind of just stop, or, they continue going on to high school and then they stop after that. But for the rest of them who continue playing on and have to go overseas because the opportunities in the U.S. are so little in comparison to overseas, this is just the kind of step that is needed to be taken. Zlatan Ibrahimovic kind of was one of those first stepping stones along with Gareth Bale. And now Messi is here. Who knows what happens next? There's way too big of contracts being handed out over in Saudi Arabia. So, maybe is there a chance that we could see a Neymar? Is there a chance we could see a Ronaldo? There was talks at one point. But is there a chance that we could see, an Mbappe eventually? Or will any of these, American soccer players want to come and play in the MLS? Talking about the main guys like a Christian Pulisic, would they ever want to come and play in the MLS and really shoot up the rankings of American soccer compared to overseas? Because obviously you can't beat what happens overseas. They care about it way too much over there. No, I wouldn't say way too much. That sounds derogatory, but they care about it so much over there. And it's their life. If you go over there, everyone knows soccer or football. Everyone knows all that stuff over there. But if you come over here, I would say I'm the average person of a soccer fan. I could tell you players. I could tell you a lot of teams. But I can't really tell you all this in detail stuff. But over there, it's their lives. That's their main sport that they watch. So, if this is one of the steps to keep growing here in the United States, then I think it's awesome to be able to have so many different sports being prominent and on TV every week. So that's kind of it for everything revolving around those sports. College football, kind of talked about it, did a little bit, talked about some of the freshmen to be excited about this upcoming season. The only news that have come out, or the only news that has come out since we recorded last episode, is that Carson Beck ended up winning the Georgia starting quarterback battle. We already knew this. We thought this was going to happen. Talked about it on the SEC season preview. If you haven't listened to that yet, or any of the other Power 5 conferences, they're all on my channel. They're all on the Spotify at Your Sports Digest on YouTube if you want to go there. If you can't listen on Spotify, or you don't want to listen to some of the ads if you don't have premium to it, whatever. I have it on YouTube. I doubt there's any ads over there. I don't have any ads set up, so just go over there and listen if you want ad-free from Spotify's other stuff. I don't really know how they do it over there, so just if you want to watch on YouTube for some reason, you're not going to see my face. Maybe you will soon. We'll find out. There's going to be interviews, so I'm going to have to show my face at some point during the podcast. I just don't like seeing myself a lot whenever I'm having to edit. I already hate hearing myself talk, but that's besides the point. Going on to the games that are coming up on Saturday, we got a hefty amount of games. Now, there's not one of them where I'm going to tell you a game and you're going to be, foaming from the mouth because you just can't wait to turn your TV on Saturday, August 26th and watch it. But there are games that's like, you know what? This team's playing. Let's watch it. We'll just go over the games that are all playing. I won't give you any picks. That'll come out on Friday. Friday's episode will give you all the picks going into the weekend, whether it be preseason NFL, NCAA, college football, maybe some MLB, whatever, soccer, whatever comes up, we will do. But we kind of talked about the game in Ireland, and it's the battle of the Navy and Notre Dame, the most fitting thing for an Irish game ever. Obviously, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and then the Navy playing over there as well, obviously, with the impact overseas with Navy. It's a perfect fitting game. The line right now is at 20.5 for Notre Dame as favorites. Notre Dame came out as number 13 on the AP Top 25 poll and the coaches poll, which, by the way, as this episode is going to come out, the official Your Sports Digest Top 25 that will be updated weekly. This is more important and prestigious than any of the AP, the coaches poll. Hell, the college football playoff poll, don't listen to that one. Find mine and listen to mine and follow mine because it's more prestigious than all of those, obviously. And it means more to the teams than any of those could ever. So the Your Sports Digest Top 25, the YSD Top 25, will be updated weekly, same day that all the other Top 25 rankings come out. So go look at that one. That'll be on my website, yoursportsdigest.com, all one word, yoursportsdigest.com, YOUR sportsdigest.com. I have links to everything there. Other things about the NBA is on there. We'll start doing college football, maybe write some articles. We'll see how busy I get to where how much I got to write or how much time I have to do any of that. But just know I'll be doing a top 25 every week. But Navy, Notre Dame ranked number 13. Next game at 2:30, Mercer, North Alabama. Again, not one of those games where you're foaming at the mouth to watch it, but it's college football and it means something. So obviously you're going to tune in, and it's on ESPN, so it's easy to watch. UTEP, Jacksonville State. Jacksonville State and UTEP, actually not a bad game. That's on CBS Sports Network at 4:30 Central Time. Kind of like Jacksonville State here. They're +1 underdogs. It's even money right now, actually. It's supposed to be 100 degrees and raining in Jacksonville, which that's not in Jacksonville, Florida. But still, supposed to be hot as hell there. UMass and New Mexico State, the game of all ages. If you know that UMass and New Mexico State is the battle of the worst teams in college football probably. And that's prime time, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock Eastern on ESPN, UMass and New Mexico State. The battle for who is going to go 1-11 and who is going to go 0-12. But also at 6 o'clock, a game that is going to be a little bit more entertaining on FS1. Ohio and San Diego State, the Ohio Bobcats of the MAC Conference, taking on San Diego State of currently the Mountain West, potentially the Pac-12, the Pac-10, the Pac whatever they call it, next year or 2 years from now, whatever is going to happen. This game's actually going to be really good, I think. This is going to be one of your games that you're going to sit down and be like, all right, this game has two teams that are, competitive. So that'll be a good game to watch. It's FS1 on Saturday. Fordham and Albany, no disrespect. Not many people are going to watch that one. That's more of a basketball watch if you're going to watch anything for Fordham. Also, another primetime game that is happening, 6:30 Central Time, 7:30 Eastern Time frame. The SEC is represented this weekend, and it is Hawaii coming to Nashville to take on the Vanderbilt Commodores. Commodores. Jeez. And right now, Vandy is a 17-point favorite. Last year, Vandy and Hawaii played on the first weekend as well. So looks like Vandy is a very heavy favorite right now. But again, college football, doesn't really matter who's playing. Just happy that it's back and that things matter when these teams play. The actual game on primetime on ABC is the no longer led by Deion Sanders Jackson State taking on South Carolina State. That'll be on ABC at 6:30 Central Time as well. And then the two late games. This one, obviously, I think a lot of people are going to try to find a way to watch it. I don't even know how you find the Pac-12 network at this point. I feel like you could probably find them on some very restricted adult website online. I don't want to say the name of it because I don't know who's watching, but feel like you could probably find this game on that website. USC, ranked number 6 in the AP Top 25, taking on San Jose State. And USC right now is currently a 30-point favorite. The over-under is 64.5. Just wait for Picks Friday for Alex. Alex's picks on Friday because there's going to be a play in this game. You're probably thinking, why is there a play on a 30-point favorite? Just trust me, there's going to be a play for sure. USC, obviously, a college football playoff watch team this year. They are definitely going to be on the bubble the most of the season, if not in the top 4 for some of the season as well. Caleb Williams, the reigning Heisman Trophy winner, projected number 1 overall pick in this upcoming NFL draft, will be on display with a bunch of other guys that are really talented on that roster. Again, Pac-12 season preview if you have not seen it yet and want to keep up to date with the USC team and how they're going to be this year. They take on San Jose State. Poor San Jose State, they got to play USC week 1. And then the final game on Saturday, FIU taking on the ugly, ugly Louisiana Tech. And I only say that because they're a Southern Miss rival, so I have to hate Louisiana Tech. That game's at 8 o'clock in Louisiana, so that means it actually starts at 8 o'clock. That's kind of poop for them. That's on CBS Sports Network. LA Tech is a 10-point favorite in that one against FIU. I have not done a preview for any of those schools, so bet with what you will on that one. But like I said, we'll wait until Friday to give out my official picks. Just wanted to name out all those games if you weren't aware already, because all these games are happening on Saturday. And then the following Thursday, we start with the full slate of games starting with Utah and Florida, obviously. The big game there. We talked about Cam Rising last week. No new updates on that. But that'll do it. A fairly shorter episode, maybe by about 5 to 10 minutes. I could have gone shorter, but I rambled on about soccer being popular in the United States, so I hope you enjoyed that ramble. We covered literally every sport here that we probably could have. Oh, outside of that, I made a very small bet on the side because I don't know much about UFC to talk about it on here, but I enjoy watching it, and I know that Sugar Sean O'Malley is the GOAT. And he's not actually. Don't take that seriously. But I love Sugar Sean, and I saw that he was a plus 200 favorite or underdog to win the championship on Saturday. I was like, you know what? I'll take that. And I also like this O'Malley win by KO at plus 335. I'll take that one as well. So I won 2 bets this weekend on Sean O'Malley winning the UFC lightweight title, welterweight title, something like that. It's the 135 and under title. So good for him. Shout out to him. He's going to be the next big name in UFC fighting as well. So congratulations to him. Now we've literally covered about everything that we could have. But that'll do it for this episode. Tune in to this Friday. We'll give all the picks. We'll talk about stuff that's happened through the week. We'll preview the NFL preseason for the final week of preseason. And then we got college football this next weekend. I'm Alex McNinch, and you just got your Sports Digest.